This is Justin AMZN on Tuesday, August 17th, 2021. Looking at the daily, we had an inside day candle today, a pretty significant gap down. So yesterday was a really strong hammer, bounced off this line. Uh, at one point, we were way down here, way below the 200, still got to close above it. And then today, we're basically gapping down right onto the 200 simple moving average and definitely closed below. These two candles together, the inside candle today is starting to look a bit like a pennant, which could be a continuation pattern here. We could go lower. We could come back down to the purple line. We could bounce there. We could keep going, pushing through beyond that. We have had some trading recently below the 200 simple moving average. And that happened here. And that happened here. Where we actually did have, a nice bullish candle. That's hard to see. Nice bullish candle, inside candle of the first candle here. So we're still inside this. So this is, it's too hard to see that. Let me switch colors and let's go with white. How about that? There. Kind of looks a bit like a pennant. And then we got a bullish gap and go, where we gapped up right here, pushed up through the 200 and the 100, but then still went sideways quite a bit more. But we didn't come back down to this closing price until basically this low. And then from there, we ran. We could see something similar where we get a close below, we get another candle. We'll see if we can open up a bit, gap up and then put in, another bearish candle like that. And that looks like a pennant, just like this looks like a pennant. And then we'll see if we break down through this or if we can do some sort of rallying. But even if we rally, I really think we would only come up to around the 100 simple moving average here. Actually, that's probably too quickly moving up. It's probably going to go like that. And that's similar. Well, I was going to say it's similar over here, but we rallied. That part is similar. But the 100 and 200 were basically flat. We're pretty flat on the 100 and 200 here, but I think that could become a channel, especially with the 21 pushing it back down. I don't necessarily see that we're going to push all the way back up to this line and be back up to 3,500. I don't know that that's going to happen at this point. I think it's going to take some time. The main reason being is this is a really big gap. I think there's a lot of selling pressure through here. Initially, I was thinking we could have that sort of a rally and move back up and turn this into a really large double top with like a neckline retest. And I don't see that playing out as quickly anymore. But that's how I see it. So I can be wrong, and happy to admit that. Sometimes not happy to admit that, but we'll see how that goes. If we jump into the 5-minute here, so I'm looking at both Monday and Tuesday, and just trying to see kind of how things played out today. So initially today we opened up, and this was really looking a bit like a triangle here. It broke out and came into the 21 exponential here, and then pushed up and actually made an evening star reversal, pulled back down. I thought at this point we were going to do an S curve here, and we were just going to retest this triangle breakout and go higher. I was happy with the gap down. I figured that, okay, if we're going to gap down from, up here, and the low of the day was down here, somewhere in the middle, that's a good place to be buying. And that's that price, right around like 32.60. And that was the lows. We were kind of holding that 32.50 area. And so I was looking to get in here, looking for that move to continue on up. And it didn't do that. It obviously got a little bit of a bounce here, but then sold down right into our line, put in a nice little pennant here. That continued lower, retest, continued lower, and was actually, looking like it could take out yesterday's low. So this price and this price kind of made a double bottom here above yesterday's low. So yesterday's low is down here. And so that's one of the reasons it stayed as an inside candle. This started to break out. You got a really nice upper wick here. This was a really strong candle at some point. I don't know if that was news driven or what happened there. So, a minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, something like that into this 5-minute candle, it looked like this with a small lower wick. And that's significant. The fact that, well, it's still significant, the fact that it's got a huge upper wick and it actually closed way down here, assuming it's a real candle, real wick. The fact that it happened again here with a really large upper wick, that's what I'm thinking. That's probably real. That's probably real. And then we've got the same sort of thing happening here. If you take the wicks into account, you got some compression, and this is looking like a breakdown and a retest. And then it's a question of, will we do something like this where, or can we do the opposite? So, I was drawing that earlier where we had this breakout and then I thought we were going to go higher and we broke down. Could we do something where this is the retest and we're starting to go, but then we break? I think 3250, this range where we have this line, is going to be key. It's still kind of right in the middle of where we're at. So this line, it has been on here for a while, 3248.95 from December 1st last year. And so whenever I'm seeing, so along with the idea of a pennant, usually I've got to zoom out a bit to see the bigger triangle. I'm not seeing it here on the 5-minute. I think zooming out to the hourly would help, or the 30-minute would help, but I'm seeing, a low here, higher low here. This point was the higher high from the open, but this is too steep to draw. So what I'm picturing is right now, if we were to draw this, it doesn't work. We're further past that. This could work, but that's really shallow. So this angle down and this angle up don't match up with a symmetric triangle. I'm looking for like a symmetric triangle. If we do that on a daily, it works pretty well. You can draw in a triangle shape and see, okay, yeah, I can see that's a similar angle from the high to the high, to the low to the low, that kind of thing. I could see some more candles inside of this. That's just what we did over here. You can see that shape forming, or flat bottom or slightly up, and that can help you kind of frame what may happen tomorrow. So I'm still looking for that triangle shape here. We'll jump over to the hourly real quick and see if there's anything going on here. Not quite yet, because this was, man, it was quite a rally yesterday. Just kept on running. So in the hourly, I'm still not seeing it here. And I think the biggest issue is because this is a higher high than the open. If it had made a relative high or a lower high, I think it'd be easier. But the fact that it's pushed up above, got to close above that big bearish candle, I think it's hard to draw that triangle shape, or it needs to be an even bigger triangle, which that's part of why I'm thinking this may just play out longer than we thought. Generally, we are, let me zoom in some more here. So generally, we're following the 21 hourly here. We keep pushing up into it. This is a nice, pretty smooth edge. If we were to draw like a triangle like that, we could flatten out, and I didn't mean to drop it. We could kind of flatten out here and squeeze a bit. If we get that inside candle and we chop around a little bit some tomorrow, you've got a lot of wicks in here. Let me zoom in again. The hourly, we had a really nice rally yesterday. So all of this was a really strong rally, and I can draw a better squiggle than that. There we go. And then we've got a lot of candles with wicks in this space here. So I think there's a lot of indecision actually here. So on the hourly, now that I'm zoomed in like this, I can see that is a nice pennant. So that's pretty smooth right there. So maybe if we don't count any of this other stuff, it's interesting that this candle is a nice hammer. That's a hammer that you would be taking bullish, like with a close above and a stop below. if you just got in with a move above, then you might have been in and then you're stopped out down here or below. So this hammer obviously was taken out with this candle, and that looks a little more bearish. This is another hammer. There's not really a body to it, but it still has that hammer shape. I guess it would need to be with a hammer like that. So it's just an indecision candle, not really a hammer. This one is a high wave candle, very indecisive. This one looks a little bit more like an inverted hammer. The body is about half the size of the upper wick, and then you just have another little bit too long of a wick here, but this would be an inverted hammer. And then the next candle here looks somewhat indecisive like this one. So we'll see if something like this breaks, if it breaks bullish or breaks bearish. Obviously, we could do a couple more of these. I'm not drawing, right? We could do a couple more of these where we have just some really small candles, but I don't know that we've had that even on, let me see here, even on our opens. So there's one where it's kind of indecisive like that. We've had more bearish opens. Bearish open, indecisive, bearish open, indecisive, bearish open, big bearish open, bearish but hammer, which could bounce. So more bearish than indecisive on the open hourly. Obviously, there's a lot going on here since the earnings gap. Just kind of looking through this, see if anything kind of stands out. I'm looking at the 21. 21, we gapped right onto it, sold off, gap below it, bought up, gapped basically on it, a little bit above, sold off, didn't touch it, gapped on it, sold off, gapped on it, sold off, didn't really gap, ended up rallying up to it, opened on it, sold off, opened below it, sold off, basically opened on it, a little bit below, sold off, bought back up. So it looks like generally if we're opening near the 21 exponential moving average on the hourly, we're selling off. And we've stayed in this kind of a downtrend from doing that. This is the kind of thing that I wish I had noticed days ago, weeks ago. Like, okay, if we're going to have this many candles that open on or near the 21 and end up selling off, that's most of these days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the last 10 opens have sold off from the 21 simple moving average. Yes, they can open above. Here's an example of one opening above, and still selling off. This one got bought up initially, then sold off. So, I mean, if we could tomorrow, if we gap up and open here right near the 21, I would still think that would sell off. May not look like that. We may end up putting in, a candle where that was a horrible drawing of the candle. Let me just redraw it here. So we could open here, run up a little bit, and put in a smaller body candle with some selling below it. This could still be a high wave candle, just a little bit higher. If we don't gap up to the 21 and we're opening down here, then this would suggest that eventually we'll run up into the 21, run up into the 21, ran up into the 21 in the same hour. And then, yeah, so the other 3 days here, so 3 out of 10, we actually had, a rally into the 21. So either we'll gap up, not we will, but based on this, 70% of the time, 7 of the last 10 candles, we've gapped and opened basically on or near the 21 on the hourly and sold off, or the other 30% of the time we have run up into the 21 within 2 hours of the open. That's interesting. We'll see if we can play something like off of that tomorrow. But let's get back to the 5 minutes. And let me turn off these lines. Come on, annotations need to go away. There we go. Okay, so back into this. So with how things move today, sorry, let me get this zoomed in a little bit more. Let's just look at today. So we know there's a gap down. We said that triangle there, looking for this to bounce. We did have some of the kind of double bottom shape here, and I felt like I should have been buying this dip, this candle. It's just, I don't typically trade before 10, and I saw this playing out and I thought, okay, that could be a good place to buy, but I mean, it still has all this room below it. If that sells off more, you know, just looking at the RSI. So we had a dip down below, went up, a dip below, and then like a retest below it. So like 3 dips below, but you know, this could still be like, this was like the double bottom shape, and then that was the next dip after. So this is where you would have seen this as being oversold and getting in here, which would have meant getting in on that candle. And we hardly bounced from there for like the next 2 hours. We stayed below or at, you know, that place. So this was not something that, you know, was playing out. Like this was breaking down. Didn't see the shape. Well, it did see this kind of a shape, but it wasn't coming into an area that it would really match up with any sort of support in here. We just kept making lower lows on the day and taking out a bullish candle. And then here, you know, even though we held below the 5 exponential for so long, that's typically when you would see a rally back into the 21, which would have been great. We didn't even have that strength come in. We just went sideways, and it was, you know, not even here, not even these 2 candles. It was actually this candle over here. You can't see the candle. It was that candle that actually got into the 21 here, and then pushed back down, seeing if we could break the low here. Just interesting how that moved. And then if you take a bigger picture back, like you see, okay, this could be a double bottom here, and this is kind of the dip here. That would have been buying on that candle. And again, still same thing. We're just sideways for a while. So even though we were down here for so long, it didn't really, what we were doing on the chart didn't seem to make sense with where the RSI was saying, oh, we should bounce, you know, or at least we shouldn't continue lower. We still did. So there were some of the shapes that I am usually looking for. I was waiting till 10 for something and thought that, okay, this is a really nice retest. It should go, but we weren't quite down to the oversold there. If you look at the options, this is the 3,300 call. You do have a hammer here. You do have that retracement back in this level. The low here on the RSI is nowhere near the lower range, not in the oversold area. It was right in the middle, which is a bit of a no man's land. But I mean, this hammer was essentially viable. Maybe not the 3,300 call, because the range was so large. Well, it was only 145, but you'd want to be buying around like 12 and a stop down at 11, which did actually work, but then only moved up, not even to 14. So you weren't even up 2R at this point, and then it starts to take out that low and begins to close below here. From there, it retests on these 2 candles with that pennant, retests into this low, not quite that much higher, but then it sold off more. So you think, okay, maybe if we're seeing this retesting at 10:30, can we go over to the put to see what's happening at 10:30? So that would have been this candle. Do we get some kind of a retest? I guess we do, yeah. So we have a retest of these previous highs, at least these ones, you know, like through here, these 5 candles. That's what we really come back into retest. With this option, this would have been a setup getting in at 10, stop at 9. I would really have liked to get below this low to do that. And I would really have wanted the RSI to be much lower. This does not look like something that I would be getting into. So I think the RSI is in the wrong place for what I'm looking for, but this is where it would have worked. get in at 10, and it continues to run up. Looking at Tuesday, 3-hour gain would have been get in at 10, target at 13. That would have worked really quickly. And then is there a place to kind of re-enter? Well, that would be retesting over here. It's just a question of, is that lining up with something on another option here? Did that retest enough? No, it didn't even come up into this low. That's what I've been looking for next. Come back up to this low. So didn't do that. And then over here, yeah, we didn't even, this is where I was saying we didn't rally into the 21 after holding below the 5 exponential for so long. So this just went sideways, and it would have been hard to get back into this bearish when it doesn't even retest very much. And it's really just going sideways, kind of choppy through here. Maybe over here when it comes back into that same level, but now that we're into the 21, it's a question of, okay, do we need to rest anymore before we have a bigger rollover? And that just didn't play out. A bigger rollover didn't. It just paused here at the same low, and then really was, I mean, it was just sideways for, and holding below that opening triangle for the remaining, really, what was that, 4, more than 4 hours of the day. So not the candle I expected today. Seeing this much of an inside candle without very much bullishness and without as much of a lower wick as we had yesterday. I was expecting more of a rally, more bullishness to come in after yesterday's candle. And so that's why I think it's possible that we do have another bearish day, similar to how these 3 candles were. You don't have, the open above the 21. I'm sorry, you don't have an open above the 200 7-moving average on this candle here, going back to May 11th. It gapped way down here and ran up. And then you do have something similar where you have a pretty big gap down, and it looks, the second candle here looks similar to our candle today. So we'll see if we get a third one similar to that tomorrow, but there's no guarantee we will. This actually made a lower low on the day. The other reason this is similar is the way that this channel set up. So I've had this drawn in here. These are the levels. It goes back to July 10th and February 12th. And these are the prices. And I think there's an angle on here somewhere. Or was it the height? No, I think it's the height. You gotta have the height in there. No, I think there's an, oh, it's this, it's the date and the price, and then the height is a separate thing. But those are the values, you can grab those. But this has been something that I had set up with that same height range here. So 367.61. Wait, which one was that? Nope, that's the other one. This one, same height range, going back to June 8th and January 11th with these prices. And it's more visual on the chart. So I'm just trying to line up with what I thought was a triangle happening on a very large time frame here. And then we started to break out of that over here. And seeing that downtrend line, I think I had done something where I inverted the angle of this and got it to be this down angle. That way it was more symmetric. So I was looking for this here to be a symmetric triangle. So taking all of that, taking this angle and this angle, and I've just continued to move that forward to see, okay, where could this line up to something? So that's why, what happened here and what happened here, they're still following that kind of same angle, and that's how I got the price. But please go back and watch the video on May 11th and see what I'm talking about with this. We've gotten some of these where we have the low really mapped out, which is kind of crazy. We just don't know when it's going to happen. So, and by we, I mean me and whoever's watching this and trying to trade it, because it's like, why this day did it do this, and it basically reversed on our line. And the next question of this is, we're we're below this channel. We've never been below this channel before. So we've never been below this other than just kind of where I had originally set up the line. Now we're below it. Does that have some significance that we could push even lower? Like I was saying earlier, this looks like a double top. It did not get much of a retest at all. If we have that much bearishness, I don't think this is the bottom yet. I don't think we're bouncing here if that idea plays out. We really could come all the way back down to this, to this line, 29.30. We could come all the way back down to 29.30 easily with the support that we've had down there. If I move this channel, duplicate channel 1, if I move this channel and copy it, I'm just going to line it up like this. So obviously that X does not mark the spot. That would suggest we would be bouncing sooner in the 3000s. So I don't know that I'm going to give that much weight. I'm going to delete this just because we don't know how much further we'll go. Like we've had other places where we've got like this double top here, and we broke down, retested neckline, and didn't go lower, or went, I guess, went a little bit lower. But if we do that over here, you know, if this is the only retest we get, and we go even lower still, I mean, we would have to do some sort of measured move off of a high or something. But I'm just not seeing that same shape. So anyway, we'll have to keep checking back into what's happening on the daily here, how things can move out. We've been, you know, up so much, down so much. We don't have a squeeze setting up yet. The histogram is way bearish now. It's significantly bearish that you'd think it would start to kind of rest and reverse some. So if it starts to do that, then that may help us go sideways a little bit more like this. As the yellow histogram down here was forming, we were going more sideways than anything through here for those days till we got a squeeze to form here. So, and then that squeeze helped propel us higher. So we'll look for some of those things to happen with the squeeze, with the RSI, with, you know, the histogram, those kinds of things. In the meantime, you know, we'll just keep an eye on where we'll be setting up. If we do have some sort of a rally to open, and we're opening near the 200, that is at 32.41 right now, 32.41.96. If we do end up selling off from that, then I mean, then it would follow with 7 of the last 10 days to sell off from kind of that price, that and that hourly price that I forgot now. So the hourly is at 32, is it 32.64.70? And then I just said here 32.41. So that means actually gapping up higher than today's close, or higher than today's candle. I don't know that we're going to get back up here. No, something's not matching up. 32.64.70. Today's open is here. Is that that? No, that's, oh, 32.41.96 is today's close. I'm sorry. I don't know what today's 200 is at. It looks like 32.75, but it's not on my screen here. That's the issue. Simple moving average 200, 32, it just disappeared. 32.74.10. Okay, 32.74.10 is the 200. 32.74, and this is 32.64. So if we open around 32.60, 32.70, then if we're doing what we've done in the last 10 days, we should maybe put a little bit of an upper wick and then sell back down. We'll see if that happens. No guarantee it will. Well, this has been long enough. If you made it to the end, thank you. Please put a comment down below. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hope this helps. This is just AMZN. Thanks.